Hello, everyone. We're back for 5 questions with LeRoy Butler, and kind of still wiping off some of the rain from the other day. You know, they got an open press box. I want to tell you about how tough it is to be a sports writer. They had an open press box, and the rain was coming in, and I had to work in those conditions.
Poor
it was
guy.
terrible.
Give me a
Just
break.
absolutely terrible. It was almost as bad as the Packers' defense, which we're going to talk about right now.
Yes.
You know, let's look at the big picture here before we break down some of the little things. Is this a team that's headed for failure because of their defense?
No.
I mean, are they going to, you know, win a lot of games and then someone's going to beat them in the playoffs because their defense can't hang?
No, I think before people panic, I'm going to talk you off the ledge.
Okay.
This defense is a bottom line defense. The coaches, they coach bottom line. And when I say that, look at the Saints. They were on the 1 yard line to tie the game. They stopped them. Look at the Minnesota game. They were driving to tie it up or possibly win it. They stopped them. Look at San Diego. They could have tied the game, interception. They're going to make some mistakes because they don't have all of their arsenal. I mean, obviously with Nick Collins not being there. But for the most part, the defense scored 14 points. I mean, the yards, I don't think they really value giving up 385 and 4 touchdowns to Phillip Rivers. I think they value, number one, ultimately, we're undefeated. And our quarterback is good enough to overcome the deficiencies of the defense. So that's why I'm not necessarily panicking. I mean, it's kind of offsetting each other.
At some point, though, isn't
Rodgers
going to be?
I've been hearing that too. I've been hearing that too. I've been hearing everything. Everything you tell me. He's going to have a bad game.
Right.
Isn't at some point, Tom, I've heard it all. When is it going to happen? Okay. So I'm not looking forward to that happening because they fought through this throughout all these teams. They're the only ones undefeated.
Yeah.
And that means they're good enough to overcome these deficiencies. And we cannot overcome their number one takeaways. They take
That's true.
See, and here's how the Green Bay Packers look at it. It's like a contract, a body of work. We calculate turnovers. We calculate Rodgers 124 passer rating. We calculate James Jones, Jordy Nelson, 85, 88. We calculate all that into that, and our body of work says in the fourth quarter, we may be up 21 points, but eventually we only want to win by 1. And McCarthy is brilliant because he got his guys thinking about the next opportunity, and not so much worry about the highlights of the film. They got the critics for that.
All right.
So he has to keep his guys on the same boat. So I wouldn't worry as much. Now I will worry when we get to the Giants because they're
Lions.
The Giants and the Lions because they have 4 guys who can rush the passer and drop 7.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's break down a little bit the issues in the defense. Basically, there's 2 areas where they're hurting, it appears to me. One is in the secondary where terrible communication, but also just sloppy play, right? I mean, isn't that what we saw? And we'll break down 3 of those miscues in the X's and O's.
And you're right, Tom, because that's when Bob Sanders was here. We heard the communication was the problem, and that's how Dom Capers came in. Now, Dom Capers came in and changed the culture. It's going after the quarterback. It's getting turnovers, and the communication was never a problem.
No.
Now it's seeing the communication is so bad that off a bye week, you would think that, it'd be better. Now, I went and looked at San Diego and Kansas City. They run the same stuff. So San Diego didn't, because people were saying, were they running new stuff? No, they're running their normal packages. So I would expect the Packers to play that better. And what's the most embarrassing thing, Tom, as a safety who played 12 years, you can never let the deepest guy get behind the defense numerous of times. Right. They have to fix that.
Is it as simple as the fact that Morgan Burnett is replacing Nick Collins, that they can't replace Nick Collins' experience right now?
I don't think they can replace his brain because he was the smartest guy out there. Now, I will say this. These guys have a level of Woodson, do as I say, not as I do. They're gambling a lot.
And we're talking Tramon
Right.
Williams here, too.
Tramon Williams is last year, in my opinion, my expert opinion, last year he was the best cornerback in the league from 8 weeks on, and that's including Revis and all these other guys. This year, since he had the shoulder injury, he's dropped. He's probably in the bottom half. And to me, that says that his mentality is pick six,
Right.
and which happened against San Diego.
Yeah.
But if you look at the first play of the game against Minnesota, Minnesota put in an out and up on, they
Short
targeted
yardage,
him.
3rd and 1, yeah.
Right. So now you get the San Diego game. They're targeting 38. Now, he has to fix that.
They're taking advantage of his aggressiveness.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, that's something he's going to have to look
And
at.
I don't know if the coaches are okay with it, but for the most part, most of the guys are gambling. 42 gambles too. But Woodson, that's part of his game, so I'm going to exclude him. So when you watch Woodson on tape, the guys should not be watching him. They should listen to what he's saying.
It's almost like, and you knew this with Darren Sharper, was everybody knew he was going to
Perfect example.
gamble. So
And I was okay with that.
you had to play safe
Yes.
behind him.
Right. See, I was not a gambler. I'm a conservative guy. I'm going to be in the deep middle or in my quarter. You go make plays. When me and Eugene Robinson played together, I was the gambler. Eugene Robinson was the conservative guy.
Right.
You can't have 6 guys gambling.
Right.
I mean, this is not casino.
Right.
So I think the coaches understand that. But the good thing about it, it's fixable. Now, you don't take away the aggressiveness of the players. You don't do that. But you do make them smarter by showing them on film individually, not as a team.
Okay.
You coach them individually and say, this is what's asked of you these next 8 weeks.
Okay. Charles Woodson had some interesting comments after the game, kind of reminiscent of, some past days. Maybe you remember. He kind of said publicly, he expressed Dom Capers, indirectly, but publicly, that he needs to find better ways to get Clay Matthews open. Get him free rushes.
I think Don Capers, and I know this for a fact, he's very approachable. And he's one of the few coaches in this league that does like to hear from his troops. He likes to talk to his guys, especially the number one overall leader of this team is Woodson.
Okay.
I know Aaron Rodgers is the best player, but he's the spokesperson. During the Super Bowl run, it was always Woodson. Now, I just remember saying to Bob McGinn, by the way, hey, look, I want to blitz a little more, and it was in the paper.
Sorry, that was to me, by the way.
Well, was it to you?
Yeah, it was to me.
You wrote that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, see, you got a terrible memory.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was one of you General Sentinel guys.
Okay.
And I was just, basically saying that I thought could help the team going after the quarterback instead of playing cover 2. So when he called me upstairs and we went through it, the next week we played the Bears. He blitzed me. I got 3 sacks. What Woodson is basically saying, though, he's really talking to the other guys, too.
Yeah.
You guys got to step it up.
Well, tell me what the mindset of the defensive coordinator is, because I remember this last year or 2 years ago. Colin Jenkins got really upset that they weren't using him.
Right.
He complains publicly, and boom, all of a sudden they start moving him around and using him. Is it that these defensive coordinators just get too routine, too much stuck to what they're doing, and sometimes they need to be shocked out of their comfort zone?
It's a little bit of that, but you try to, for the most part, keep the integrity of the defense. The integrity of the defense says that Matthews is going to be on the offense right, the defense left, 60% of the time. The other 40%, he can move around to the center, loop around, get one-on-one with the center and get a sack, or even line up on the right. But Matthews doesn't like coming from the right side. So Zombo, Walden, and Brad Jones, all those guys rotate over there. So now, basically, they got to find ways to, when he does blitz, or go after the quarterback, get him to a one-on-one. Not so much get him free. Now, he did come free one time, got a pressure, but for the most part, Matthews understands that I'm not necessarily trying to get free, but just design plays for me to get one-on-one with, here's a case in point. When the Packers made a switch at tackle, what did Julius Peppers do? He went from left to right.
Right, right.
And then when he switched back, he went back over.
So try
you
to
put
put
your
him on a
best guy
weakness.
on the weakest guy.
Right.
And
Okay.
they're gonna do that.
Well, okay. So next, let's just, Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he can play any better. I think he's
Right.
probably, right now if he plays at this pace, he'll be the MVP hands down. One thing that I thought was interesting was he added this week was the ability to run. Now he has run in the past,
Yes.
but
Yes.
he used it based on how the Chargers were playing him. Lots of man under defense,
Right.
which means that the corners have their backs to him, right?
Yes. And see, if you go back and look at the pass, the touchdown he threw to Jordy Nelson, not many quarterbacks can make that throw, low and outside. It's almost like Nolan Ryan. I want it low and outside.
Yeah.
I can put it there.
Right off the
Or
corner
Greg
of the
Maddux.
plate.
I can move the ball where I want it. He's like a pitcher, but he understands that all of his 6 catchers, they know what the ball is going to be. Let's move that further. When he first got the job, people kept saying, well, he's not durable. Because Brett played every game. So this guy's, he's not tough. Well, he had a shoulder injury, played anyway. He had some other bumps and bruises, plays anyway. He took a hit in this game, blindside hit. And plus he was sacked 4 times. Guy hit him right in the back of the head in San Diego. Jumped up, no big deal. Not only is he a durable guy, but to me, there's 3 gaps that were created really quickly. The gap, who's the best coach in this league? It's McCarthy and anybody else you want to put down there, but it's a big gap. Who's the best team? The Green Bay Packers is the best, and there's a big gap. But quarterback, you can never debate what Aaron Rodgers is doing now. He's by far, not a little bit, by far the best quarterback because he has to overcome the deficiencies of his defense, special teams, and everything that's around him. Not a great offensive line. Still got sacked a bunch of times. But when he's running around, he's the most accurate quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's including
And
Michael Vick.
He's putting up good numbers.
Yeah.
And finally, quickly, it looks like the NFC North race, at least behind the Packers, is getting tighter. Bears beat Philadelphia on Monday night.
Yep.
Bears and Lions play on Sunday. This is not over completely. If the Packers slip a little bit, there's going to be some heat on them.
Well, they're not going to slip. I mean, typical Packer fan, right?
Yeah.
But you're right about that because now you got to bring in a division, but you also got to watch San Francisco.
Right.
Because they're winning as well. With that being said, teams are starting to hit their stride.
Right.
Green Bay haven't even seen their stride.
Well, we don't know that. Maybe they have hit their stride.
No, I
We're
don't
going
think
to find out.
These guys can play better on defense.
Yes, they
Matthews is
can.
going to finish with 10 sacks.
They can't play much better on offense.
Right. But they can probably run the ball a few more calculated times, but I'm not really worried about that. The ball should be in the best player's hands, Aaron Rodgers. But this defense and special teams, they're starting to get more turnovers, and they're starting to play better, and that proves bad for the NFL.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back again next week.
Yeah, this is brought to you by Synnex Baluster, owned and operated. And guess what? They have a new store in West Bend. Tomorrow is actually the grand opening. I will be there on Sunday from 12 to 3 in West Bend. And W.J. Kuhn Automotive Center in Oak Creek. Hey, mention my name, I'll give you 10% off.
All right. Thanks for joining us.